عليه رزقه فيقول ربي أهانن كلا بل لا تكرمون اليتيم ولا تحاضون على طعام المسكين وتأكلون التراث أكلا لما وتحبون المال حبا جما كلا إذا دكت الأرض دكا دكا وجاء ربك والملك صفا صفا وجيء يومئذ بجهنم يومئذ يتذكر الإنسان وأنى له الذكرى يقول يا ليتني قدمت لحياتي فيومئذ لا يعذب عذابه أحد ولا يوثق وثاقه أحد يا أيتها النفس المطمئنة ارجعي إلى ربك راضية مرضية فادخلي في عبادي وادخلي جنتي صدق الله العلي العظيم. In English, this comes from Surah Al-Fajr, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Inna rabbaka labil mirsad. Your Lord is indeed in ambush. As for man, whenever his Lord tests him and grants him honor and blesses him, he says, My Lord has honored me. But when he tests him and tightens for him his provision, his rizq, he says, My Lord has humiliated me. Allah says, No, indeed, no, you do not honor the orphan, and you do not urge the feeding of the needy. You eat your inheritance rapaciously and love wealth with much fondness. No, indeed, when the earth is leveled to a plain, and your Lord's edict arrives with the angels in ranks, and the day when hell is brought near, man will take admonition on that day. But what will the admonition avail him? He will say, Alas, I had sent ahead for my life. And on that day, none shall punish as he punishes, and none shall bind as he binds. O soul at peace, return to your Lord pleased and pleasing. Then enter among my servants and enter my paradise. Sadaqallahu al-Aliyyul Azim. Salawat.
Jazakallah, Brother Michael, for this beautiful recitation. One more loud salawat, please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil faraja. I would now like to request Brother Ayan Ravjani to please come forward and recite a salam with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil faraja.
Bar Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat. सामने गासिब के जाकर फातिमा रोती रही सामने गासिब के जाकर फातिमा रोती रही देख कर इस बेबसी को دیکھ کر اس بے بسی کو حلتا روتی رہی، سامنے غاصب کے جا کر فاطمہ روتی رہی، اور اپنے گھر میں رو سکینہ مصطفیٰ کو فاطمہ، مصطفیٰ کو فاطمہ، بیٹیوں سے دور جا کر، بیٹیوں سے دور جا کر سیدہ روتی رہی، سامنے غاصب کے جا کر فاطمہ روتی رہی، اور یوں ملا جیرے رسالت زرد چہرہ ہو گیا، زرد چہرہ ہو گیا، تھام کر مادر کو بنتے، تھام کر مادر کو بنتے مرتضیٰ روتی رہی، سامنے غاصب کے جا کر فاطمہ روتی رہی، اور در گرا کر وہ لئی تو اپنے گھر کو چل دیا، اپنے گھر کو چل دیا، مصطفیٰ کی لاڈلی، مصطفیٰ کی لاڈلی لیکن صدا روتی رہی، سامنے غاصب کے جا کر فاطمہ روتی رہی، اور کیا خبر زینب سے ماں نے کیا کہا تھا اے خدا، کیا کہا تھا اے خدا، پاک بی بی دیکھ کر، پاک بی بی دیکھ کر اپنی رضا روتی رہی، سامنے غاصب کے جا کر فاطمہ روتی رہی، اور ہائے غربت فاطمہ کی مرتضیٰ کہتے رہے، مرتضیٰ کہتے رہے، سورہ کوثر ہے زخمی، سورہ کوثر ہے زخمی، انما روتی رہی، اور مادر حسنین کا توقیر ماتم ہے بپا، توقیر ماتم ہے بپا، آ کے اپنی قبر سے جو، آ کے اپنی قبر سے جو کربلا روتی رہی، سامنے غاصب کے جا کر فاطمہ روتی رہی، سامنے غاصب کے جا کر फातिमा रोती रही बर मोहम्मद वाले मोहम्मद सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि
Jazakallah, Brother Ayan, for this beautiful recitation. One more loud salawat, please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajahum. I would now like to invite Brother Karim Hassan to please come forward and recite some poetry with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajahum.
Fatima, pillar of Ali, and this pillar was taken away so quickly. Did the Prophet not say that who hurts Fatima hurts me too? But that is what happened on this fateful day. They burned the house of Ali. Did they have no dignity? Ali lifted Khaybar's gate, but Fatima was the strength of Ali. Now Ali is left weeping near Fatima's grave. For when the door fell and crushed Fatima, it crushed Ali more. For when the door fell and crushed Fatima, it crushed Ali more. Ali's strength has gone back to Allah. Ali's armor has been taken away. Ali's heart has been crushed under the door along with Muhammad Salat. Abbas, your hands, like no other, getting water for Hussein, so Islam will not falter. Did they know what blessed hands they cut? Loyalty, like no other. Bring the water to your lips, you see Sakina, and say, I would rather bring the water to Sakina or little Ali Asghar, so his thirst will not be quenched by an arrow. You call yourself Muslims. Look at yourself. You claim to believe in Muhammad. You have killed Abbas, whose hands, like Ali's, did nothing but protect the household of the Prophet. Husseinu minni wa ana minan Hussein. In his dying moment, he says, allow me to see your face once more. Where can you find loyalty like Abbas? Life without Hussein isn't worth living. Life, loyalty unmatched. Where do you see a soldier putting the commander's life before him? When Zainab was in chains, she called out, Oh Abbas, where are your hands? Hands that did nothing but protect Rasulullah's grandson. If you were there, maybe Hussein would not be making usr on a musalla of arrows. Maybe if you were there, your blessed hands would protect us all. So what?
Jazakallah, Brother Qaim. One more loud salawat, please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajahum. I would like to now request Brother Ali Hassan Ali from the Al Ain Social Care Foundation to request an urgent appeal from their organization. Brother Ali. Allahumma salli ala
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وأفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين أبي القاسم محمد. There were two brothers that grew up in a very, not ideal situation. Their father was in and out of jail. I don't want to get into too much specifics out of respect for our majlis, but I think you guys can have a good understanding of what I mean by not a fit household. Abusive, anything that you can think of is kind of there. So these two brothers lost their father because of these things that led to him having, a health situation to where he then eventually died. A respected family adopted those two kids. There was a study that was done. I don't know if you guys ever wondered this. It's like, how does this actually play out? How does this eventually work itself out? So they did a study about these two brothers to kind of figure out how did things play out with them. One of them ended up being exactly like his dad, right? In and out of jail, just a super bad person, all around, the whole works. The other person ended up being a lawyer, a very respected lawyer. So this organization that was doing the study sat down with the two of them to kind of interview them and just really get an insight on what was different between the two of them, or what do they think was really the changing factor. One of them told them, both of them actually said the exact same thing, which is, you know who my dad was? I had no other choice, right? You know who my dad was. I had no other choice. So one of them turned out bad because his dad was bad. And the other one turned out to be good because his dad was bad, right? The reason why I'm sharing this story with you guys is because I believe we're in a complete opposite situation. We have the best foundation there is, right? Which is Ahlul Bayt and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There's no better school. There's no better, you don't have anything that doesn't have an answer to it, or doesn't have proof to it, or doesn't logically make sense. You have the best fit. What do you do with that, I think, is our responsibility. The reason why I'm sharing that with you, because I don't know if you guys think this, but I always wonder in moments like these, like tonight's, we're obviously remembering, Fatimiyyah Zahra alayhi salam. How can somebody stand in front of a holy house like that house and do what they did to Fatimiyyah Zahra? It's mind-boggling that we have, our ma'soomeen, 13 of them have not passed in a regular way. They've all been killed, right? So it's imagine again, you're living in a time of an imam, and you have the audacity to battle them or to fight them or to do whatever it is to them, right? And I'm bringing this up because the reality of it is, if you go back in history, the few that are good is the key word there is few. The few that do good, the few that are on the right side. Imam al-Mehdi Ajallahu Faraj al-Sharif, when he comes out, his companions are how much? What's the amount? 313. Those are his, it's 313. There's millions that do ziyarah every year, but there's only 313 that are selected from it. And what I'm saying is really simple. I'm here representing Al Ain Social Care Foundation, which is an organization that was founded and is overseen by Sayyid Ali Sistani. And the main purpose of it is really simple. It's to take care of orphan children, and to do our best to help them be the leaders of our world, just like our Prophet ﷺ was an orphan and became the leader of our ummah. We do these through different ways, right? Whether that's educational support, whether that's making sure that their living situation is perfected, educational support, like I was mentioned, vocational training, anything and everything that you can think of, healthcare, mental care, all of that we provide. And 100% of the donations that you donate go 100% to the kids. There's no admin fee. There's no middleman, if you will, right? And that's, again, one of the beautiful parts about us having Sayyid Ali Sistani's blessings, is whether it's the ijazah for hummus or whatever it may be, it's not that we're just, accepting the money. We're also accountable for the money and how we spend it. And really what I'm asking you in the name of Fatimiyyah Zahra, whether it's the CFK, which inshallah the next time I give a speech, it's in the new center, or it's Al Ain, don't be one of the select few that say no to the shaitan and take the action of being a believer, of being a follower of Ahlul Bayt, of being one of the select few, or the few that actually take action and put their faith to action, instead of it just being something that we, just say kind of regularly, if you will. Does that make sense? And inshallah, all of you guys are believers. The fact that you're here today, I ask that Allah blesses you and your family in all ways, in every possible way. And that inshallah, whatever that you do is multiplied tenfolds for you and your loved ones. But I'll be outside in the hallway. We have two sisters in the ladies section, Sister Fatima and Aram. If you guys have any questions, you don't have to necessarily donate. You can just, get some questions answered or whatever it may be. But again, it's a perspective thing that I wanted to share with you, is that we have a really good foundation. What are we doing with that foundation? And are we going to be the select few that do good? Or are we not, I want us to be extraordinary, and I believe that we can be. أفلح من صلى على محمد وآل محمد.
Thank you so much. Jazakallah. One more loud salawat, please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil faraj. Respected Shaykh, brothers, sisters in faith, elders, assalamu alaikum. Before I request the Shaykh to ascend the member, I would like to request everyone that we should please recite a Surah Fatiha for the Isal Thawab of the following marhumeen tonight. Sayyid Zafar Nadim Zaidi ibn Sayyid Wahid Hassan Zaidi, Sayyid Hassan Ardu Zaidi ibn Sayyid Wahid Hassan Zaidi, Sayyida Nasim Fatima Zaidi bint Sayyid Alamdar Hussain Zaidi, Sayyid Hassan Aziz ibn Sayyid Aziz Ahmed. Please also include the marhumeen of Brother Qasim Zaidi and Sister Shireen Zaidi, the marhumin of Brother Arshad Abbas and Sister Asiya Batul, the marhumin of the Kanani family, the marhumin of Taki Nazanin Mamdani and family, and let us please also include our own marhumin and the marhumin of the Ummah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. With this, inshallah, I would like to request the Shaykh to please come to the member with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa ajil. I would also request the brothers and sisters to please come closer to the member so that people who come in later have space to sit down. One more loud salawat, please. Allahumma salli ala.
على حب فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين صلوا على محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الفاتحة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا رسول الله وعلى أهل بيتك المعصومين الأبرار الميامين المظلومين المضطهدين. السلام عليك وعلى بضعتك المعصومة الصديقة الطاهرة فاطمة. لعن الله الظالمين لكم من الأولين والآخرين. وما خاب والله من تمسك بكم أمن من لجأ والتجأ إليكم. يا ليتنا فيا ليتنا كنا معكم سادتي فنفوز والله فوزا عظيما. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وليعلم الذين أوتوا العلم أنه الحق من ربك فيؤمنوا به فتخبت له قلوبهم وإن الله لهادي الذين آمنوا إلى صراط مستقيم. آمنا بالله. صدق الله العلي العظيم. اللهم صل. والسلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. My dear brothers and sisters, I once again want to thank you. Thank Shaykh Amin, Shaykh Mehdi, the City of Knowledge, for inviting me and giving me this distinct privilege and honor to commemorate with all of you. I mentioned yesterday that insan has been given the faculty of reasoning, and with that faculty of reasoning, the ability to use cognition to not only maintain what they need in the life of this world, but also advance and improve. And that's what separates insan from the other creations, is the power of the mind. At the same time, Allah has given you emotions which serve as a means to motivate an insan to move towards something or move away from something. And that motivation is both a strength and at times can be a weakness as well. And that it's up to the mind to govern the emotions of an individual so that they both can be used together to achieve Allah's lofty goals. In the end, that's what we want. And what differentiates the insan from the other creation of Allah is the fact that along with being given these faculties, these powers, and indeed they are power, they are a source of power, we have been given choice. And choice is what distinguishes one human being from another. In the end, that's what it comes down to. Because each insan has been given the same basic composition, the same drive, the same ruh, everything has been put into the insan. It's just some choose right, some choose wrong. Some choose with the right factors propelling them forward, whereas others are restrained from making the right choice because of fear, inclination, greed, whatever it is. And in the end, we have to serve a purpose. And as I did yesterday, inshallah, I will try to go in a big circle and hopefully come to some conclusion. We have to serve some purpose. And Allah has really made it quite easy for us. Really quite easy. You all know the ayah of the Holy Quran. He says, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. Allah says, I have created jinn and insan for one purpose only, worship, so that they can worship. Now, the term ibadah in Arabic, when you say ya'budun, or somebody is a abd of Allah, these have both very simple meaning and complex meaning to them. What do I mean by that? Well, abd, if you translate literally, just means a slave. Is a servant of somebody. But when Allah says that I have created you as my servant, He says this not only that literally you are the servant of God, because we are, but we are also from a figurative perspective His servant. Why? Because there is something we have to achieve. So if I were to ask you this question, I don't know if you've ever tried these exercises. When I teach my Sunday school class, I always have the older kids. And these are not kids anymore, they are adults, to be honest. I ask them this question. I write up on my dry erase board, worship is blank and blank, okay? If you were to describe worship with 2 words, what would those 2 words be? Worship is blank plus blank, or blank and blank, okay? If you just think of it on your own, have we ever thought about that? That if someone were to come on to you on the street and say to you, you're a Muslim, who do you worship? You say, I worship God. There's no question. I worship Allah, who is the Lord, sovereign creator of everything. There is no omnipotent being other than Him. And they will ask, what does that worship mean? What will your answer be? Salat, zakat, khums, hajj, sawm, بر الوالدين, أمر بالمعروف, نهي عن المنكر, تولى, تبرع, etc., 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 all these things. But are those actually worship? Those are actions. Salat is an action. Sawm is an action. Zakat is an action. Khums is an action. I'm asking about what does it actually mean? What does it mean when you say you are the worshipper of God? When I think about it, I think about it from a certain context, okay? Let me give you an example. One day, somebody came to Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali ibn Abi Talib, alayhi salatu wassalam. And they said, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, the phrase, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. What does this mean? Now you can translate it. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. There is no recourse, nor there is any power or strength other than the power and strength of Allah, or in Allah, or from Allah. What does this mean? Amir al-Mu'mineen, he gives a very beautiful answer. He says, is four things you have to recognize sequentially. He says, one, that the only owner of everything is Allah. You don't own anything. Allah owns everything. He is the owner, the Malik of everything. Number two, anything that you are given is because He owned it and He allowed you to own it by proxy. He gave it to you. He said, number three, by virtue of the fact that He has given it to you, He made you a temporary owner of it, He has put taklif upon you at the same time. The minute you were given something to own by Allah, who is the actual owner of it, He imposed taklif on you. Meaning, this body, not yours. Given to you, as soon as it is given to you, you are breathing, you have life, what happens? Taklif is upon you. Taklif means what? Obligation. You are obliged to do what He tells you. He gives you a house, you are obliged. He gives you water to drink, you are obliged. He gives you an education, you are obliged, etc., etc. Number four, he says, as soon as the owner, Allah, takes that away from you, the proxy ownership that He gave to you, as soon as He removes it from you, taklif also is pulled away from you. Makes sense? No? So simple. Really simple way to put it together. Anything He gives to you, He is the owner. And He gave it to you, you became the temporary owner, and you took on the responsibility for it. The minute He took it away from you, what happened? And this applies to anything in life. Anything. Allah bestows you with $10,000, $100,000, all you earned halal manner. He's the owner. He gave it to you. What's the responsibility now? What's the taklif on you? Khums. Khums. Yes? Khums happens. You have to pay. But let's say over the course of that year, that $100,000, it's taken away from you somehow. You no longer have it. Do you have to pay khums? No. It's gone. Taklif is gone because the owner took it away from you. He took it away from you. You understand my meaning. I am oversimplifying it, obviously. But you can see how this applies to every aspect of our life. The minute He puts it on you, you have responsibility. So when I think about this, try this game with your kids one day. In fact, I think the adults will find it challenging too. Ibadah, worship, is blank and blank. Try it. Try it. Try describing ibadah in one word. If you were to say worship is blank, what would that blank word be? What would it be? How could you encapsulate the worship of God in one word? To me, and this is, I'm giving you a very superficial look, if I were to say worship is two words, I would say one is responsibility, personal responsibility, and number two, accountability. Responsibility is what you, on yourself, you have chosen to fulfill. Some obligation is on you. Now, the strangeness of that obligation, my dear brothers and sisters, is that that responsibility, does anyone force you to pay khums? Okay, let's take another example. My 16-year-old just got his driver's license, okay? As it is, the hairs in my beard are white. If Allah gives me the tawfiq of coming here to visit you again, you will see it will be all white. Maybe one black hair will be remaining, okay? I survived one child already driving. Those were the first set of white hairs. Now the rest of them are gone. I don't have hair on my head as it is, okay? God forbid, I've threatened him. I say, you speed, you run a red light, what's going to happen? You'll get busted, right? You'll get a ticket, God forbid, la samahallah, and you'll get caught. There's someone enforcing that code on you. And if they enforce the code on you, you don't pay the ticket, what will they do? They'll suspend your license. You will be penalized. for not fulfilling what you're supposed to fulfill. Now, in the case of religious obligation, the taklif that Allah has put, you don't pay khums, will the police come and get you? Maulana will be standing on your door knocking, 1 o'clock in the morning, you didn't pay your khums. We're going to taser you if you don't pay your khums, huh? Ya Allah, people will pay their khums like this, no? You have a khums police. Wal-hayadu billah. I think that would defeat the purpose of actually making you feel the desire. But you see that that's how religious obligation is not about you being punished into morality. Morality can never be taught with punishment. Morality is something you feel as a sense inside of you that I have been given something by the Lord, owner of everything, and allowed to possess this because he gave it to me. So I, from my own self, feel a sense of responsibility. And I know that even though there is no de facto accountability, meaning somebody's not standing on top of my head saying, did you pay your khums? Did you do your salat? Did you do your fasting? Although I did hear when I was a child, when I had gone to Karachi as a kid, that in Ramadan, if you eat in public, they'll beat you for eating in public in front of the Sa'imin, right? Tell me, is that true? Probably it's true, yeah? You can't drink water, eat in front of people, they'll beat you because it's disrespectful. But there's nobody policing your morality, is there? Your acts of worship. Nobody is sitting there on top of your head trying to figure these things out and enforce it. So it is still upon you to deal with this. And that's what religion is teaching. And it all comes down to one thing, your duty. What is it have you done? What duty have you fulfilled in your life? That duty, whatever it is that is on you, it fluctuates and it changes. Your first duty is to Allah. You must fulfill your duty to Allah. That means He commands you to do something, you do it. He prohibits you from doing it, you stay away from it. And you ensure that you have given Him absolute priority. So now, that means I've prayed on time, I've only consumed halal, I have not consumed any haram, I have done all the things He's required of me. Let's say I've done all of that. Now I'm doing, being a good Muslim, I'm doing my nafilah prayers, okay? Now you, all of you tell me what I should do, okay? I'm asking you your opinion. I'm doing my nafilah prayers. I have done all my wajibat. It's after Isha. I'm doing the nafilah. I'm going to do a few extra nafilah prayers after Isha prayers. And my wife, she says to me, I need help in the kitchen. Brother Asad is looking at me like, does that happen? Yeah, apparently it happens, maybe. So I get asked, I'm doing nafilah prayer. She asked me, can you come and help me? What should I do? The nafilah is wajib? Nafilah is not wajib, but it is devotion to God. It is recommended. In this case, is that obligation, the duty to do the nafilah prayer, the same as your duty to do the wajib prayer? Is it the same? It's not the same. Duty to do wajib is one thing. Your duty to do nafilah is a completely different thing, because if you don't do nafilah, you've not committed a sin. It's not required for you. So maybe in that instant, if you say, I'm not going to do nafilah, and instead I'm going to go to the kitchen, I'm looking at all the men, and I'm going to help my wife wash the dishes, and tell her that after a day of cooking and cleaning and whatever it is you have done, maybe it's the other way, sisters. Maybe he's been cooking and cleaning all day, yes? And he calls you and he says, look, you're already done 6 rak'at of nafilah. Come and please take the dishes off my hands. My back's breaking a little. No? So you understand my meaning. This duty that is upon us, it fluctuates. First and foremost, absolute obligation is to God. That has to be like a constant radar inside of us. An uneasiness that we feel, that if we have not fulfilled the absolute obligation to God in the time that is required of us, something does not feel right. I cannot sit still. I must get up and I must worship. Beyond that, now it changes. I have done that obligation. I have fulfilled what I have to fulfill to God. I now come out and I see what else is required of me. Look at the example of Abul Hasan Musa ibn Ja'far al-Kadhim alayhim as-salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. In one of the instances, it's reported that when he was being forcibly taken from Medina up to either Basra or Baghdad, I don't remember, when he was imprisoned there, the Rawi, he says, we would bring Abu al-Hasan, he was kept under tight quarters on the journey up towards Iraq from Medina. He will pray. He will pray and he will pray. Our Ma'sumin, they prayed. All the prayers, the Nawafil, they would pray and pray and pray continuously. He says, however, there were some times when I noticed that after doing the fara'id, after doing the obligatory prayer, he will not pray the nafilah. And instead, he will come out of his house and answer the question of people who are there. People knew that this is the grandson of Rasulullah, that he is from the Ahl al-Bayt. They knew that this is a chosen of God. So they wanted to avail themselves of him and get their questions answered. He knew people were there. So he will put the nafilah aside and he will go talk to the people, answer their questions, help them out. See? See how he's showing us what is required and what's not required. How you prioritize in life. And you see in society, that is the case. You don't think your center works the same way? Your center works the same way. It has the same application. That if there is garbage left on the floor, here in the center, whose responsibility is it to clean that garbage? Everybody's responsibility. You are all responsible. I am responsible. Everybody is responsible. Once one of you goes and earns the thawab of picking up that garbage, what happens to the responsibility on the rest of your shoulders? It drops. It drops. Immediately it drops. All right? This is a concept called wajib al-kifai in religion. Wajib al-kifai means that the responsibility to fulfill something, the wujub of it is on everybody. If one person answers it, it's done. Same thing goes for if all of you are praying, somebody walks in and says, Assalamu alaikum. You're all in prayer. One person walks in and says, Assalamu alaikum. What must you do? What must you do? Do you have to answer? No, not wa alaikum assalam. You say, Assalamu alaikum. You must answer with the same answer. So if you're praying, someone walks in, they say, Assalamu alaikum. Your answer must be exactly what they say, Assalamu alaikum, back. That obligation, that duty to do that is on everybody. But if one person answers and says, Assalamu alaikum, what happens to the duty on the rest? It falls. You are now no longer required. The person nearest to them says, Assalamu alaikum, duty on the rest is gone. Okay? You see this. This is how our lives are. This is how our relationship with God and with insan, with our society, with our world. The more and more of this duty we take upon ourselves, the more difficult it becomes. The more challenging it becomes. Why? Because if you were to go, are there any caves here in Dallas? Any caves in Dallas? No? You guys don't go hiking? No one goes hiking in caves? I guess there are no caves in Dallas. We in North Carolina, we've got mountains. We've got the Blue Ridge Mountains, caves, springs. It's like Jannah on earth, okay? Leave Dallas, come visit North Carolina. I will take you, inshallah. If you go and you live in a cave, okay? I'm not advocating for that. I'm just saying, hypothetically, you take your nihari, okay? Don't leave without that. Your gulab jamun. You have to have a chai or coffee maker. I'm a coffee drinker. You go into the cave, you live there by yourself, you pray your 5-time prayers, you do everything, you've already done your wajib hajj, etc., etc. Is it haram on you for you to live in that cave? No, it's not haram on you to live in that cave. You can live in that cave if you want to. But what have you done? You've essentially made your life so simple that you don't have the duty of living amongst people. No? Because the duty of living amongst people is not easy. It's difficult. It's challenging. Because along with making up and fulfilling all your obligation, your duty, your responsibility to Allah, you now what have? You have duty in front of people that you can't escape. By virtue of you stepping into society, what have you done? You have assumed a responsibility on your shoulder. Immediately you have. Immediately you have. Yes? Even just as an example of Ahl al-Bayt alayhim as-salatu was-salam, Imam al-Sadiq alayhi as-salatu was-salam, what does he say? He says, كُونُوا دُعَاةً لِلنَّاسِ بِغَيْرِ أَلْسِنَتِكُمْ. Call people, be a good sign to people, a good example to people without opening your mouth, without your tongues. Let them see your actions and know who you are. What a responsibility this is. And he would say, كُونُوا لَنَا زَيْنًا وَلَا تَكُونُوا عَلَيْنَا شَيْنًا. be an ornament, a decoration for the Ahl al-Bayt. Make sure that you don't ever do anything that embarrasses us. They will say that this is the follower of Ahl al-Bayt, look at how he's behaving or how she's behaving. Don't be that way. So the minute you come into society, what happens to you? You assume a responsibility. My dear brothers and sisters, that responsibility is not easy, because along with that responsibility is accountability. If you don't pray, you don't fast, you don't give your khums, you don't do your hajj, you don't do the things Allah has asked of you, He will question you for what you did in terms of, or what you didn't do in terms of your obligation to Him. And now, as soon as you enter into society and you are bound by this social contract that exists between yourself and others, He is now also going to ask you, did you fulfill your obligation to others? So now who's going to hold you accountable? In the end, you do it yourself. You do it yourself. You have to do it yourself. Now this is where we struggle. This is where we struggle, do we not? There are some who give their life and their soul to the center, to the community. They sacrifice their personal life, their ease, their comfort, they come and they give. And that's why, give, my dear brothers and sisters, give. Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wassalam, he is the Imam. He is the chosen of God. When they have overlooked him, when they have abandoned him, turned their backs on him and on the family of Rasulullah, he walked away. How many people in our communities, if you don't show them the recognition, whether it is a position on the board or whether it is recognition even superficially, they stop coming to the center because I wasn't recognized the way I was supposed to. This is Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib, Fatih Khaybar. Who, despite being treated the way he was, and he describes it is as if there was something piercing my eye, the pain of it. And I chose patience. He says it himself, I chose patience rather than rising up. Even though I know that they all recognize my position with respect to Rasulullah. Sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa Muhammad. This is where we falter. With respect to me, myself, is a relatively simple process of saying I am responsible to do 1, 2, 3, 4, and I am accountable for A, B, C, D, etc. Holding myself accountable is simple. Why? Because I can look in the mirror and say I did it or I didn't do it, unless I am deluding myself. It's with respect to each other, with respect to society, with respect to community, that now either I don't place the responsibility on my shoulder, I say, no, look, I don't wear amama on my head, so I don't have any role in the center. I don't have the time, I have a full-time job, I can't come and clean in the center. I can't teach in the Sunday school. Either I don't take the responsibility on my own shoulder, or I take the responsibility and I don't hold myself accountable enough to do a good enough job. No? Or give it with the true sincerity. Just look. It is how we fail. And that's why ibadah in our actions fails. It tends to fail. Because either we don't hold ourselves responsible enough, or we are not hard enough on our own action, on our own drive, our own intention, our own motivation to make it pure. Our accountability is very poor. Some of it also has to do with what we feel we can control and not control. They have a concept, it's called sphere of influence. Sphere of influence, what does it mean? It means that there are things in my immediate vicinity or around me that I can affect, I can change, okay? A small sphere of influence is those aspects in my life that I can control directly, I can change their trajectory, I can make them do or not make them do. Small sphere of influence. Don't hold this against me. Usually this is like your children, at least your children. Me, I'll say that for me, that's probably not even the case, yeah? Usually a father can go and tell his children, go do this and go do that, or don't do this and don't do that, right? And they will have to listen because you're the father. Or the mother will say it to the children same way, yes? That is what's called a small sphere of influence. It's where you have control, direct control. You can exert influence and cause change, okay? When you go beyond that to a medium sphere of influence, you're talking about the things that maybe you can make suggestions to change their mind, but you cannot control them directly. You can tell them, look, this is a good thing to do. This is a bad thing to do. Try to go that way. Stay away from this. But in the end, the person will still end up doing what they choose. They're not going to listen to you, because who are you actually? You may be able to influence them. Maybe you're an elder in a community. Maybe you're a doctor, someone comes to you for medical advice. Maybe you're a builder, a lawyer, an engineer, something, etc. Yes? When you get to the large sphere of influence, the one that's outside, you neither have influence nor can you control. But you have interest in the subject matter that is being affected. You want something to happen, to go in a certain direction, but you have no influence over it, and you definitely cannot control it in any way, shape, or form. All right? This is where we falter. We go in saying, this is my duty to do this, my responsibility to do that. Meanwhile, our sphere of influence is really very small. And we're going beyond that sphere of influence, and what are we doing instead? Causing trouble. We're doing what is beyond our scope. I hope you're seeing where I'm going with this. In the history of Amir al-Mu'mineen and what happened after Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Misappropriation of responsibility and accountability causes a lot of problems. A lot of problems. In our personal lives, in society, in institutional building, in everything. When you consider your influence to be bigger than it actually is, you cause trouble. You cause destruction, you cause disarray, you cause strife between individuals. This is where leadership is needed. True leadership sees the limits of influence and applies those limits accordingly. Knows how to do them. Knows how to steer them in the way that they have to be steered. Knows how much they can step forward and how much they have to retract. Okay? That goes for us as well. And that applies directly hand in hand with what we have taken on as our responsibility in society. Now, they say about Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wa salam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Muhammad. Once a man, he came to Imam al-Sadiq. Imam al-Sadiq bi abi wa ummi is asked by this man, tell me about your grandfather, Amir al-Mu'mineen. He says about Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib, he says, he never had a moment in his life where he consumed haram. He never once, ever consumed something haram from the start of his life to the end of his life. Never. He says, number two, there was never a difficult task that came upon Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, a difficult situation that Rasulullah did not turn to Ali ibn Abi Talib. He always turned to Ali. Always. He says, number three, no one could endure the difficulties that Rasulullah had on his shoulder, on his responsibility, other than Ali ibn Abi Talib. This is Imam Sadiq talking about his grandfather. He says, he acted in the life of this world. He acted, his actions in this life of the world were as if he could see Jannah and he could see Jahannam. He could visualize them in front of his eyes. His motivation was so strong, so strong. And lastly, the most important thing, he says, never a time came upon him when some act was required in the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that he always chose the more difficult of those acts. In the acts of obedience to God. He always chose the more difficult act to do. Always. Look, he's imam, he's leader. He knows. When we have to do wajib, what do? The bare minimum that is easiest for us to finish from A to Z and we're done. No? Forget about perfection, we barely complete what we need to do. Talk about responsibility and obligation, and then on top of that, accountability on our own selves. And here is the example of our imam, who in the acts of obedience to God, always will choose the most difficult. That's why there is only one who slept in the bed of Rasulullah, no? Only one who slept in the bed of Rasulullah. Only one who was given the responsibility of bringing the Fatimiyyat after Rasulullah in the Hijrah. Only one who goes out to meet Amr ibn Abd Wad when in the battle of Khandaq. Only one who stands up. Only one who falls on the body of Rasulullah in the battle of Uhud. Most difficult moments, just look at them, where obligation and responsibility is falling squarely on the shoulders of all Muslims. Who steps up? Ali ibn Abi Talib. The door of Khaybar has to come down. There is Karrar Ghayr Farrar, right in front. Always in front, ready to do, ready to act. Because responsibility is on the shoulder, and I'm going to lead, and I will show you. This is the power of leadership. The power of that leadership is this. And that's why when it comes to us following this Imam, we have to ask the question, what is our responsibility? Not just to me, not just to my immediate family, to people in my circle, but to society in general. And that will change. That will always require greater effort because it is more difficult. It is more challenging. It requires sacrifice. And that's why the Quran always says, work together, always work together. Always work together on it. They say Al-Imam As-Sajjad alayhi salatu was-salam, he says, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. He says, it's reported, he has said that Allah has placed on each of his creation, each of his servants, obligations and duties that are so comprehensive, they're so wide, that they will cover all of your movements and all your periods of stillness, all of your silence and all of your speaking, all of your acts and all of your thoughts, all of your days and all of your nights. He has covered every second with duty and obligation, every second. Imam Sajjad is saying this. Every second has been covered this way. So I ask you, that do we live this way? Do we hold ourselves accountable this way? Maybe we do for the basics, salat, zakat, khums, saum, hajj, etc. But for the things that require self-sacrifice, for the things that require me to give of my time, maybe not so much. Maybe I don't hold myself as responsible as I should. And that's why, again, I said to you, that to build, he knows that we cannot do it alone. He says work together. And the ayah is very clear. You know this ayah. وَتَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْبِرِّ وَالتَّقْوَى وَلَا تَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْإِثْمِ وَالْعُدْوَانِ. Cooperate together on goodness and piety. And do not help each other. Do not support those who do what? Sin and rebel. Or create rebelliousness or animosity amongst each other. Don't cooperate on those things. Help each other for piety and goodness. Bring people together. Ayah also says, now the beauty of this ayah, now look at this ayah. وَالْمُؤْمِنُونَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتِ بَعْضُهُمْ أَوْلِيَاءُ بَعْضٍ يَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَيَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ وَيُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةَ وَيُؤْتُونَ الزَّكَاةَ وَيُطِيعُونَ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ. Allah, what does he say in this ayah? He says the mu'min and the mu'minat. Now, I don't know why Allah has phrased it the way he phrased it. But it gives me pause to think. When Allah describes in the Holy Quran in Arabic and he says al-mu'minun or al-mu'minin, who is he referring to? Who is he referring to in this? He is referring to all believers, is he not? Mu'min is the singular, mu'minun is the plural. And that includes who? Only men? No. It includes men and women. Now in this ayah that I just recited to you, what does it say? وَالْمُؤْمِنُونَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتِ بَعْضُهُمْ أَوْلِيَاءُ بَعْضٍ يَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَيَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ. He says the believing men and the believing women. They are the awliya of each other, the supporters, the guardians, the masters, whatever, however you want to define that word, wali or the awliya, they are the helpers of each other in this matter. Now, I think this to myself. I'm only thinking, I'm posing this to you. Why would Allah not say mu'mineen are the wali of each other? Why not just say all mu'mineen, men and women inclusive? Why say male mu'min and female mu'min? Or male mu'mins and female mu'mins? Male believers, female believers. Why separate them by sex? Maybe there's a role to play for men and for women. No, in this. Not only that, but they support each other in what? In household duties only? Cooking and cleaning? In what? What do they do? They do what they are required to do to help each other. يُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةِ يُؤْتُونَ الزَّكَاةِ وَيُطِيعُونَ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ. They uphold their prayer. They help each other in this together. Husband is a little slack. The wife helps him. She says, look, come on, you've slacked off on your prayer a little bit, meaning you're doing it a little later than normal, not in waqt al-fadila. Come on. You were too busy watching soccer, and your team was on, and you decided to watch soccer and not do your salat. Yeah? I think you know who who I'm talking about, yes? Don't feel embarrassed. It's me. You get reminded. Why? Because in our moment of weakness, somebody else can support us. So in the establishment of salat, in the giving of our zakat, meaning being charitable, and in the obedience of Allah and His Rasul. Look, in the obedience of Allah and His Rasul, mu'min male, mu'mina female have to support each other. They must support each other in this. But the first thing that this ayah, before upholding salat, before giving zakat, before obedience of Allah and His Rasul, what does it say? It says, يَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَيَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ. Men, male believers, female believers, they support each other. They are the wali of each other in what? In joining good and forbidding the evil. Ya Allah. Look at the obligation. Look at the role. Look at the role of insan and the potential that each insan, irrespective of male or female, what they have. Especially when things are difficult, when ugliness appears, injustice is there, every insan has to speak up in the role that the capacity that the Sharia says is required. Obviously, there are rules and I am not going into all of that. But you see the role that we all have to play. And you see how Ahl al-Bayt exemplifies this. Now, I said to you about leadership. In the presence of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, there were many instances in which Rasulullah, in fact, he would ask the companions a question and they would pose answers. One person will remain silent. Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wassalam. He will remain silent. And when Rasulullah will turn and say, "Wa anta ya Ali?" What about you, ya Ali? What are you going to say? His answer will be, my Allah and my Rasul know better. I'm going to remain silent. I have read riwayat in some books where there were some companions who came and they corrected Rasulullah on how he was treating his wives. And that God sent down ayah of the Quran to verify what the companion was teaching Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Wala ayadu billah. That's that, and here is Ali ibn Abi Talib sitting at the feet of Rasulullah. Yes? So in the presence of the master, and indeed Rasulullah is the master of us all, nobody will open their mouth. Ali ibn Abi Talib has made that the example by which we live. So now, ask yourself this question, that at what point does the person now have to stand up and say, I'm going to act. I do have to say something. Okay? In the life of Rasulullah, never. It was always obedience to Rasulullah. But the minute Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam goes from this world, what happens? The foundation that was built by him, it starts to what? Crumble. It starts to break. Let me give you an example. You know, when Fadak was denied to Fatimiyyah al-Zahra. When it was denied to Fatimiyyah al-Zahra, she went, she spoke in front of the men. She came back to her house. Some say this was before Fadak, some say this was in the time of Rasulullah, but the point is, she spoke to the women, and she was very angry because of what had been denied to her. The question of Fadak being the inheritance of Fatima, this is an old topic. It is so old. It has been so easily proven, so conclusively proven, that it does not even warrant any time, for me at least, because we know it. We know it so surely in our hearts what it is. But let me point that after this event, it's reported that she was in her home, and the ladies of Quraysh, they came to her. This was a normal thing, a common thing in Medina. The ladies of Quraysh will come and sit with Fatimiyyah al-Zahra. They will learn from Fatimiyyah al-Zahra. She will teach them. It was known that she did this. But they came to her at this point. They asked her, they said, Ya bint Muhammad, Ya bint Rasulillah, what is your state? How have you, كيف أصبحتي? The Arabic, it says كيف أصبحتي? How did you wake up today? How did you wake up seeing the day today? She answers them, and I am paraphrasing. She answers them, she says, I woke up today detesting your world and despising your men. She says this very clearly. See it, it is in the books. I woke up detesting your world and despising your men. And she gives a long speech, a very long speech. In that speech, she says how your men have turned their backs on what Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam had told them, admonished them about, held them in account of, given them accountability on. How much? And then she comes and she recites an ayah of the Holy Quran. She says, وَلَوْ أَنَّ أَهْلَ الْقُرَىٰ آمَنُوا وَاتَّقَوْا لَفَتَحْنَا عَلَيْهِمْ بَرَكَاتٍ مِّنَ السَّمَاءِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَلَكِنْ كَذَّبُوا. She recites this ayah. She says, if the people of the Qura, meaning the people who are there, if they were to have believed and been pious, believed and amanu wattaqaw. Not only did they believe, but they were so fearful that they fulfilled the obligation that was upon them. They were so fearful of God that they knew the responsibility on them, they fulfilled it. Allah in the ayah, what does he say? لَفَتَحْنَا عَلَيْهِمْ بَرَكَاتٍ مِّنَ السَّمَاءِ وَالْأَرْضِ. We would have opened up the blessings from the skies and the earth upon them. We would have opened up those blessings. When the Mufassirin explained barakah, yes, the word barakah, common word, it means blessing. May Allah bless you, give you blessing. When they explain it in Arabic, its actual meaning is something that persists and doesn't decay, doesn't go away. So if I were to say, Barakallahu feek, may Allah bless you, I'm saying, may Allah give you such a blessing that will stay with you for the rest of your life and never go away. So I ask you, why does it go away then? Allah blesses us, but certainly we lose that blessing. Why? Because God put responsibility here and we didn't fulfill it. So he says, I'm going to take the blessing away from you. Yes? True blessing persists, it stays, it doesn't decay. And here she says, if you had done what you were supposed to do, that blessing would have stayed. Who is she pointing to? Who is she pointing to? She says to them, the ayah, it says, وَلَكِنْ كَذَّبُوا. They denied. They denied, they belied it, they rejected it. They rejected it. فَأَخَذْنَاهُمْ بِمَا كَانُوا يَكْسِبُونَ. So then we called them to account for what they had done. Accountability was waiting for them. They denied it, they denied it. My dear brothers and sisters, I will finish with this. When she went to that mosque, to that gathering of those men, I ask you, how many traditions do we have in our books, authentic or unverified or otherwise, that describe Fatimiyyah az-Zahra coming out of her home to speak to anybody, to interact in society, in any way, shape, or form? How many do we have? Not much. I've counted maybe on my one hand. The most prominent is at Uhud. At Uhud, when there's news of what has happened, Rasulullah has been injured, it's reported that Fatimiyyah az-Zahra came out. She came to the grave of Hamza ibn Abdul Muttalib, to her uncle. His grave was there. She took the dirt of that grave. She made a subha, tasbih out of it. And this is how we have the tradition of taking the turba of Imam Hussein and making tasbih out of it. From Fatimiyyah az-Zahra alayhi salam. And other than this, how many occasions? Nothing. We have no occasions in which she came out into society. She remained behind her door. Yet now she comes out. Fadak has been taken away from her. She goes into the gathering of these men. And I ask you this question. Where is Amir al-Mu'mineen? The Imam of the time is not there? He's disappeared? Where is he? He suddenly left? He absolved himself of his responsibility that God placed on him? Never. He's there. But she comes out. And now you are all aware of this, that when she speaks, look at the power of this woman. And why I am telling you this? Why I am telling you this? Because duty is on all of us. And there are some moments when the world becomes so ugly, so dark, when injustice has reared its ugly head, that the woman also stands up and she speaks. especially when that woman is like Fatimah az-Zahra. And that's not the only example. We have other examples. I don't have to tell you about Al-Hawra al-Aqila Zainab. You know about her better than I do. But Fatimah az-Zahra, now she comes. And when she speaks, she gives the message to these men who are sitting there. She talked to them about Allah, about Aqeedah, about Iman, about ibadat, about worship, about how to pray and what is the importance of prayer, and zakat, and Quran, and the position of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam. And then she reminds them. And I urge you here to pay just close attention to my words as I say them to you. She says to them that you were all suffering and you were all subject to the assault from the enemy. Shaitan was attacking you, meaning you were in ignorance. When you became Muslim, the kuffar of Quraysh were attacking you, were plaguing you with their assaults and persecuting you, tyrannizing you, attacking you. All of this was happening, and then my father came. My father came. And then, after she describes her father, what does she say? She says, قَذَفَ أَخَاهُ في لهواتها قذف أخاه في لهواتها ولا ينكفئ حتى يطأ صماخها بأخمصه ويخمد لهبها بسيفه مكدودا في ذات الله مجتهدا في أمر الله قريبا من رسول الله سيدا في أولياء الله. These are her words. She said, my father came and there was his brother Ali ibn Abi Talib. There he came. قَذَفَ أَخَاهُ فِي لَهَوَاتِهَا. He extinguished the fire of the enemy coming at you. He extinguished it. وَلَا يَنْكَفِئْ حَتَّى يَطَأْ صِمَاخَهَا بِأَخْمُصِهِ. He came and the wings of their discord and the dissension they were causing amongst you, he trampled on it with his feet. وَيُخْمِدْ لَهْبَهَا بِسَيْفِهِ. He extinguished the fires of their assault, their animosity on you with his sword. مَكْدُودًا فِي ذَاتِ اللَّهِ مُجْتَهِدًا فِي أَمْرِ اللَّهِ. Resilient, unstopping in the way of God. Hardworking, resilient, and untiring for the command of Allah. قَرِيبًا مِنْ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ. The closest to Rasulullah. سَيِّدًا فِي أَوْلِيَاءِ اللَّهِ. A master amongst the awliya of Allah. مُشَمِّرًا مُجِدًا كَادِحًا نَاصِحًا. He was unbreakable, unbreakable. She is describing. لا تأخذه في الله لومة لائم. He does not allow anyone's criticism of him deter him from the path of truth. He stays on the path of truth. وأنتم في رفاهية من العيش. You, O men, you are living a life of carefree and easy, and here is Ali ibn Abi Talib has given everything. My dear brothers and sisters, Ali ibn Abi Talib couldn't have said these words himself. And would anyone have denied that you indeed, Ya Ali, slept in the bed of Rasulullah? You indeed, Ali, have the sayf of Dhul Faqar on Uhud, in which it says, La fata illa Ali, la sayf illa Dhul Faqar. You, Ya Ali, at Khandaq, the sound was heard that غلب اليوم انتصر or غلب الإيمان كله على الكفر كله. Today, all of Iman has destroyed and defeated all of kufr. If he had opened his mouth, nobody could have denied. Yet Fatimah az-Zahra comes out in the defense of truth, in the defense of deen, in the defense of haqq. The power of that voice. The power of that voice, why? Because when that moment comes, obviously if the conditions are what are allowed by Allah, within the limits of Allah, the duty of defending the truth comes on all of us. And not any one of us should say that, no, it is not my job or I am not capable of defending the truth. I have the knowledge, I have the will, I have the resilience to defend the truth, and it is my responsibility to do so within the bounds that Allah has made, obviously with the conditions. And that's why they say that when the denial of Fadak took place, that denial was not the denial of a piece of land. It was a denial of the fact that then she would have come and said the Khilafah belongs to Ali, because that's what Rasulullah had done. So if we had given her Fadak, we would have had to give in to her and given the Khilafah to Ali. So when the women came and sat with her, she sent them away. They went and they told their husbands. The husbands came and spoke to her. She turned away from them. She says, leave and go away. I have nothing to do with your world anymore. And my dear brothers and sisters, the regime could not allow it, could not permit such a powerful voice to remain, to shake the firmaments. You see the echoes of this decades later in Karbala, in Kufa, in Sham. You don't? You see echoes of this decades and decades later in the time of Al-Imam Al-Askari alayhi salam. When Al-Imam Al-Askari died, he placed the wilaya in the hands of the Jadda, as she was known, the grandmother of Al-Imam Al-Mehdi, Ajjalallahu ta'ala farajahu al-Sharif. Just like it was placed in the hands of Zainab al-Kubra in Karbala. When it comes to truth, when it comes to defense of what is right, repelling evil and oppression, everyone stands. Everyone has the power to stand up and say. And now they come because the only way to silence that is by crushing it with oppression. You want to silence the truth and the power of a person, the empowerment of a person, you do so by inflicting violence on them. We see that today, do we not? By the sheer violence on an innocent group of people, you can not only eradicate them physically, but you can crush their will so much that they will not have the resolve to even open their mouths. But this is Ahlul Bayt al-Nubuwwah. They will not remain silent. They will speak the truth. And that's why we, as their followers, in the moment when the oppressed cannot speak, we have to speak. We have to speak. That's why this event, this door, don't forget that door. Don't forget that door on which Rasulullah will come and knock and say, Assalamu alaikum ya Ahlul Bayt al-Nubuwwah. Salam upon you, O family of the prophethood. My salam upon you. I am giving my salam upon you. And this is the same door they came to. وَكَأَنِّي بِهَا فِي دَارِهَا وَقَدْ طُرِقَ الْبَابُ فَقَامَتْ مُنَادِيَةً مَنِ الطَّارِقِ. As if I am watching the scene when the man came and pounded on that door. Pounding on the door, she called from inside, who is at the door? فَصَاحَ اللَّعِينُ قُولِ لِعَلِيٍّ أَنْ يَخْرُجَ وَيُبَايِعْ وَإِلَّا ضَرَبْنَا الْبَيْتَ نَارًا. The cursed man, he replied, tell Ali to come out and give bay'ah, pledge allegiance. And if he is not to do so, then we will burn the house down. قيل إن في الدار فاطمة قال وإن قيل إن في الدار الحسنين قال وإن قيل إن في الدار القرآن قال وإن سأحرق الدار بمن فيها. It was said to this man that don't you know who is in this house? Fatima is in this house. He said, so what? He was told, don't you know in this house is Hassan and Hussein? He said, so what? He was told that don't you know that this house is the house in which is the Quran? He said, so what? I will burn the house and everyone who is in it. فصارت توبخه وتعاتبه وهو يدافعها الباب. She kept pushing against the door. My dear brothers and sisters, where should a woman run and hide? Where should a woman go when the strange man is forcibly entering into her house? The safest place, The safest place to hide for that woman is behind the door. The cursed man, he says, فأحسست بها بين الباب والجدار فألجأت ظهري إلى الجدار ورجلي إلى الباب وعصرتها عصرا حتى نبت المسمار في صدرها. She hid behind the door. The man, he says, I knew she had hidden behind the door. So I placed my leg on the door and I began to press on the door. I pushed on that door and I kept pressing the door until the nail went and lodged in the rib of Fatima. وويلا وانبعث الدم من صدرها وسقط جنينها على عتبة الباب. The blood began to seep from the wound, and the unborn child in her womb passed. My dear brothers and sisters, they say that in those days, Fatima al-Zahra would not sit face to face with Amir al-Mu'mineen. She would not want him to look at her face in that state. 40 days and 40 nights, she remains in her bed of sickness. One day, Amir al-Mu'mineen, he came into the room. He saw her sitting in the bed. On the other day, when he entered upon her, she was up from the bed, leaning against the wall and walking. He ran to her and he said to her, Ya binti Rasulillah, لماذا قمت من فراشك? Why have you gotten up from your bed, O daughter of Rasulullah? فقالت له بكل صراحة, يا أبا الحسن, قمت لأغسل رؤوس أطفالي وثيابهم لأنهم سيصبحون يتامى بلا أم. I have gotten up, O Abu al-Hasan, to wash the hair of my children, to clean their clothes, because after today they will become orphans. They will not have a mother. Amir al-Mu'mineen, after the passing of Fatima al-Zahra, he called Al-Hassan and Al-Hussein. He says to them, to the children of Fatima, وَدِّعُوا أُمَّكُمْ, come and say farewell to your mother. Imam Ali alayhi salam is washing the body of Fatima al-Zahra. With him is Asma bint Umays. They are washing the body. In the middle of the washing of the body, suddenly Amir al-Mu'mineen walks to the corner of the room, collapses on the ground and begins to weep and cry. Asma bint Umays, she says, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, whenever we needed strength and courage, we will look at you and your strength and your courage. We will get strength from you, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen. Indeed, this is a difficult moment. But Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, why have you gone like this and collapsed in the corner, weeping and crying in this moment? Amir al-Mu'mineen, he says, Ya Asma, oh Asma, what can I tell you? As I was washing the body of Fatima, my hand pressed on the rib of Fatima. I felt the place where the nail was going. I felt the broken rib. My dear brothers and sisters, in the name of Fatima al-Zahra, please read a Surah Al-Fatiha for the marhumeen of the people who are providing the food, and all your marhumeen, the shuhada, our ulama. Remember everybody in your Surah Al-Fatiha. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا آل محمد أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون باسمك العظيم الأعظم الأعز الأجل الأكرم يا الله اللهم إنا نسألك وندعوك ونقسم عليك بحق الزهراء وأبيها وبعلها وبنيها والسر المستودع فيها لعن الله ظالميها اللهم شافي كل مريض اللهم رد كل غريب اللهم فك كل أسير اللهم غير سوء حالنا بحسن حالك يا كريم اللهم وفقنا لمراضيك وجنبنا معاصيك وثبت أقدامنا على صراطك المستقيم وخذ بأيدينا إليك يا أرحم الراحمين وفرج عنا يا الله فرجا عاجلا قريبا كلمح البصر أو أقرب من ذلك وافرغ علينا صبرا وتوفنا مسلمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين. Say.
Don't leave me, stay with me. Don't leave me, stay with me. You're my whole universe, Fatima. Fatima, my love, what can I say? In front of me, my darling, you lie. How do I face the world from this day? You're my only cure for dunya's pain. Hearing your gasps each time you inhale, tears fill my eyes, I frown at that snail. Beneath it, puddles of blood do trail, snatched away from me, my holy grail. You're in pain, Muhsin slain. You're in pain, Muhsin slain. By burning your house, what did they gain? Don't leave me, stay with me. Don't leave me, stay with me. You're my whole universe, Fatima. Oh, Ali, one last time I'll profess my love for you I wish to express. You're the perfect husband, nothing less. You're the strength to my every distress. Your separation is why I mourn. Crushed ribs don't hurt when your heart is torn. Heaven without you I can't adorn. I'll wait at Jannah with our unborn. I declare God won't spare. I declare God won't spare those who beat me nor those who just stare. Don't leave me, stay with me. Don't leave me. You're my whole universe, Fatima. I shan't complain, this is Allah's plan. Know your ribs molded a morning clan. Against those who murdered you they stand. A revolution today begun. Zahra, I wish I could bring some ease. Haidar, they've brought down upon his knees. All life from heaven's petals they squeeze. Even the slain fetus I heard wheeze. I hold tight all my might. I hold tight all my might. Without you, princess, there is no light. Don't leave me, stay with me. Don't leave me. You're my whole universe, Fatima. Oh Ali, please be strong for Hussein. Zainab too, this the first of two flames. Their grief shows when uttered is my name. Protect Phillah when I screamed she came. These final pleas I wish to ask for. Hide my gravesite from those who waged war and crushed me between the wall and door. Now Malik al-Maut knocks on this door. Say goodbye. Please don't cry. Say goodbye. Please don't cry. Fatima's soul carried to the sky. Don't leave me, stay with me. Don't leave me, stay with me. You're my whole universe, Fatima. You're my whole universe, Fatima. Ya Hussein.
Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Zahra, Ya Zahra, Ya Zahra, Ya Zahra. मेरी बीबी मेरी बीबी तेरे दर पे इस्तिग़ासा है तेरा ममनून मेरी शहज़ादी ये जहाँ सारा है या ज़ारा Ya Zahra, Ya Zahra, Ya Zahra. ऐ मेरी बीवी कितने सदमे उठाए तूने जीते जी तुझको मेरी शहज़ादी गम ने मारा है Ya Zahra, Ya Zahra, Ya Zahra, Ya. तुझको उम्मत ने यूं सताया है मारा मोहसिन पे भी रुलाया है तुझको बाबा के बाद उम्मत ने हाय दरबार में बुलाया है या ज़ाहरा या ज़ाहरा या ज़ाहरा या ज़ाहरा تجھ کو امت نے یوں ستایا ہے، مرغ محسن پہ بھی رلایا ہے، تجھ کو بابا کے بعد امت نے آئے دربار میں بلایا ہے، یا زہرا یا زہرا یا زہرا یا زہرا، اے میری بیوی اے میری بیوی تیرے در پہ استغاثہ ہے، تیرا ممنون میری شہزادی یہ جہاں سارا ہے، یا زہرا یا زہرا یا زہرا یا، تو ہمیں حفظ اور امان دے دے، اپنی چادر کا سائبان دے دے، تیری قدرت میں کیا نہیں بی بی، تو جسے چاہے دو جہاں دے دے، یا زہرا یا زہرا یا زہرا یا، اے میری بیوی اے میری بیوی آنسوؤں میں دعا مانگی ہے، تیری تسبیح پڑھ کے دل نے تجھے پکارا ہے، یا زہرا یا زہرا یا زہرا یا زہرا، تیرا دربار وہ سخی در ہے، ہر فرشتہ جہاں گداگر ہے، تیرے مکروز آسماں والے، تیرا مکروز ہر سکندر ہے، یا زہرا یا زہرا یا زہرا یا زہرا، قرض مقروض کے ادا کر دے، مفلسوں کا نصیب وا کر دے، جن کی گودھی بھری نہیں بی بی، ان کو اولاد تو عطا کر دے، یا زہرا یا زہرا یا زہرا یا، اے میری بیوی اے میری بیوی تیرے در پہ سر جھکاتے ہیں، ہر حسینی کا تیرے ٹکڑوں پہ ہی گزارا ہے، یا زہرا یا زہرا یا زہرا یا زہرا، یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین، بر محمد وآل محمد صلوات، اللہم صلی علی Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Before we disperse, it is requested that we recite Amma Yujibu 5 times for Sayyid Hassan Afroz Zaidi and to all who are in need, are in ailing. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Amma yujibu muhtarra idha da'ahu wa yakshifu su. أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء، أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء، أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء، أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء. And let us please all recite a Surah Fatiha for Sayyid Zafar Nadeem Zaidi, Sayyid Hassan Arzu Zaidi, Sayyid Hassan Anis, and Naseem Fatima Zaidi. And let us please also include our own marhameen and the marhameen of the Ummah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Rahman Rahim. Malik Yawm. متوجه زيارات.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد عبدك ورسولك وحبيبك وصفيك ونبيك وخيرتك من خلقك وحافظ سرك ومبلغ رسالاتك، وعلى علي أمير المؤمنين ووصي رسول رب العالمين، وعلى الصديقة الطاهرة فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين، وعلى سبطي الرحمة وإمامي الهدى الحسن والحسين سيدي شباب أهل الجنة ورحمة الله وبركاته. اللهم وصل على أئمة المسلمين علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي والخلف الهادي المهدي الإمام القائم صاحب العصر والزمان، الأمان 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 من زوال الإيمان وفتن الزمان. عجل الله تعالى فرجه وسهل الله مخرجه وجعلنا من أنصاره وأعوانه والذابين عنه والمسارعين إليه في قضاء حوائجه والمستشهدين بين يديه جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. صلوات الله.
صل على محمد.